Hello and welcome to World Talks with me, Ashim Kumar. Tonight we examine the NATO summit in Ankara, future support for Ukraine and tensions in Polish-Ukrainian relations ahead of the Volhynia anniversary. With Agnieszka Homańska, we discuss NATO's €70 billion pledge, Allied hesitation and EU accession, historical memory and how Warsaw can de-escalate disputes. Agnieszka, euros or dollars doesn't really matter. It's a big amount. Good news coming from Ankara. Your main takeaways from a Polish perspective?
That is true. It doesn't matter in which currency we count. It matters that Ukraine gets the support. And it's not only the pledge of 70 billion euros, but it's also the whole Article 4 of the declaration after the summit, which underpins the unwavering support, but in sovereign commitments. And this is very important because there is already this discussion, would every allied country actually contribute, will it not? Well, remember that we have many different ways of supporting Ukraine. Please remember about the Pearl mechanism, which is extremely effective as it allows us buy American and supply the Ukrainians with the American. It makes perfect sense when it comes to attacking or rather not attacking, but like supporting the real victim of this aggression. And this is something that was clearly stated yesterday at the summit. And the discussion inside the room were actually really quiet. There was a lot of noise around before with media and with different leaders saying different things. But the most important outcome is the real commitment that we have after the summit. And President Donald Trump said that he is happy with NATO and he believes in NATO. You know, the allies are scaling up when it comes to defense spending, and I think we should look on the bright side of it.
Okay, but not everyone is kind of united, are they? I mean, the Czech Republic and the Netherlands come to mind, who say that they're not going to support Ukraine. So how do we deal with splits like that within NATO?
As I said, sovereign commitments. And if I'm not mistaken, it was the first time that the Czechs decided to supply for Pearl. And Babiš said it today, that, okay, maybe not with the 70 billion, but Pearl. Every country is in quite a difficult situation right now because there was a moment of free riding on defense, and we somehow have to, get to the point where we all can talk on the same terms. And it might be more difficult, for example, for the Netherlands, which said that their stocks are full and they also have to resolve around this. But it doesn't mean that the commitment to support Ukraine is not there.
Okay, now going back to the relationship, you mentioned the US and President Trump. How would you characterize the relationship between President Trump and Poland, the Polish leadership?
President Trump and Secretary of War Hexet, they say, and actually Secretary of State Marco Rubio as well, say that Poland is a model ally. And that's true. And we were also positioned as such. Our president spoke with President Trump, although briefly, but it's important. And this was one of the perfect examples where Polish government and the president worked together. Because on security issues, we have to work together. This is what our society demands us. And Poland has sped up the production capacities. We are allocating 4.8% of our GDP on hard defense and 1.5% on the soft defense around. And Secretary of State says that it is clear also for the US that the closer to Russia you are, the more you spend on defense. So Poland is there, and Poland is ready to be the change maker around the whole region.
Does this, you talk about Poland being a change maker, does this actually strengthen Poland's position in the region in terms of influence over the way in which countries, NATO countries on the eastern flank actually push their defense forward?
Well, for sure, our position helps also the region because, look, we've just finished our presidency in the Council of the Baltic Sea States, really effective and an important format also for NATO. We had 2 meetings on the margins of NATO summit in which Minister Sikorski participated. It was the E5 plus Turkey plus the EU, and it was an informal group invited by Secretary of State, and Poland was there. And whenever Poland is there, Poland also represents the whole region. The president is really active with Bucharest 9. There are all various formats. We should stick to it.
Okay, so something now more internal, if you like, and by that I mean the relationship between Poland and Ukraine. The anniversary of the Volhynia massacre is coming up, and there is still a sore spot, isn't there, in the relationship between these two countries. The European Parliament has passed a resolution saying that Ukraine, basically created an unnecessary problem. Where do we go to from here, Agnieszka?
We all have politics, and history between neighbors is always difficult. It's not only Poland and Ukraine. I think if you speak to France and Germany about certain regions and about Alsace, they would also disagree on various moments. But as our Prime Minister said, if we only focus on the past, it would be difficult for us to build the future. And last Friday at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there was a meeting between Minister Sikorski and Minister Sybiha, who came here to de-escalate. There were good talks with a little public communication afterwards. And of course, the opposition was already asking, okay, but what are the concrete results? Well, it's difficult to solve out years of history during just one meeting. But there are some ideas that we just need to implement. Let the historians work and do their job. Let the diplomats work and do their job. Yesterday, our presidents also met in Ankara. And it is a good signal that they are talking to each other. And again, President Nawrocki said, okay, not all the historical issues were settled. But yet again, it's impossible to settle all the historical issues within 20 minutes or even within 1 hour. And that's true, the Volhynia, the massacre, the anniversary is coming up. And I think we should really look at communication from both sides. Right. Because the minister or deputy minister, that's still to be decided, but the Ukraine will be represented on the ministerial level in Ukraine. Our deputy minister is also going to Ukraine. The ambassador here will attend. And it's important, to differentiate what's happening here and there. But the thing that I don't understand is why don't we focus on the good parts of our history? In 1946, the post-home Polish army worked together with Ukrainian insurgent army, with UPA, in Hrubieszów. And they fought against communists there. And it was a really successful march towards communism. Why don't we focus on that?
Right. Well, it's a very good question, Agnieszka, and maybe now people will. Thank you so much for sharing your analysis with our audience.
Very much for having me.
Pleasure. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away, lots more coming up. Goodbye.